We have with us our cricket correspondent, Jonathan Agnew, the Sydney Morning Herald's chief cricket writer, Malcolm Conn, and I'm delighted to say we've got England spinner Jack Leach as well. Hi, Jack.
Hi.
We're going to talk about this England team that's been picked for Lords and all of that, but firstly, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Obviously gutted to be missing this series, but obviously supporting the lads and watching and keeping a close eye on it. And I'm here for the first couple of days at Lords, which is exciting for me. It's nice to be back around the lads. I think I was away from them for like 2 weeks and I missed them a lot. So it's nice to be back.
Was watching hard?
Yeah, I mean, from a personal point of view, definitely. I think I was very excited for the boys. Obviously, we've been on a bit of a journey the last year or so, and this, the build up to this series from the outside was so big, and just excited for the lads to kind of go out and express themselves. And obviously gutted that I wasn't part of that, but just really happy for them.
I feel like Jonathan and Malcolm, this is one I should ask you rather than the man himself. They miss him, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, look at the side they've put out here. I mean, Moeen obviously pressed into action last week, and inevitably, it's not just a question of turning up. I mean, I'll tease Jack about spinners getting injured, but that spinning finger obviously takes a lot of work, and he bowled a lot in the first innings, and he's just been only playing T20 cricket, so it's hardly surprising that he didn't really make it through the game. They're saying he would have been fit actually to have played tomorrow, but there is a bit more grass on the pitch than maybe there might have been had Jack actually been fit. They've talked about these flat, fast pitches. Well, there is some grass on there, and so they're going down the fast bowlers route. They actually got 5 seam bowlers in the team now, and Joe Root will bowl some spin, but that suggests, well, it says 2 things. A, the dearth, obviously, of spin bowling in this country, that there isn't an obvious replacement, really, for Jack, now that Moeen has broken down as well. But also the fact they obviously still have some concerns about Ben Stokes' knee, because he bowled some overs at Edgbaston. They weren't the fastest overs that he's ever bowled. He says he's feeling okay, but I think they're just keeping an eye on that. So it is a rather one-dimensional attack without Jack playing, sadly. But there is some grass on there, and I suspect that if England do win the toss tomorrow, they'll have to bowl first.
Yeah, Malcolm, I mean, it pains me to say it, but I'm absolutely sure Australians will feel like they've got away with one not having to face Jack.
Oh, I think absolutely. I think Jack's probably the most underrated part of the success of Bazball up until about a week or so ago. And I think that shows in the fact that not only has he taken wickets regularly, I think, Jack, you'd correct me here, I think you've got about 45 wickets in the Bazball era of the last year or so. And
is that when records began now, Malcolm?
Well, reading the papers lately, I think it is. I think that life before Bazball didn't actually exist.
I'll be happy with that, to be fair.
But the other thing that Jack has done, which is really important, and it showed in the second innings in Edgbaston, is he's soaked up a lot of overs. So when you've got a couple of ageing fast bowlers, you've got an all-rounder as captain who's got a dodgy knee who can hardly bowl, you need someone to soak up the overs. Well, Moeen Ali did it in the first innings in Edgbaston until his finger blew up, and he wasn't able to do it in the second innings. And I think that was a fundamental part of the game that really hurt England. And now, if you look at it, that Broad's bowled 43 overs. He's bowled the most overs of anyone in the series so far, which is only one test old, I know. Then Robinson's bowled 40. Then you come down to Jimmy Anderson, who was out of sorts but still bowled 38, and the most an Australian fast bowler bowled was 32. So you've got the fast bowlers, ageing fast bowlers in obviously 2 cases, having to carry an extra load, and part of the reason for that is Jack's not there.
You said, Jack, that you missed them and you'd only been away for a couple of weeks. So what is it about this group that, throw the style of play and all that out the window just for a second, which means so much to you and is so enjoyable to be around?
Yeah, I think it's just we've had good times obviously on the pitch but off the pitch as well, and I think that's been huge for me as an individual, and I think others would say the same, is just remembering to enjoy your life alongside playing cricket. I think before that maybe the pressure was too much, and you put everything you could into it and almost too much, and it didn't allow you to be free to kind of bring out what you can on the pitch. So I think that kind of feeling is really powerful and something that you want to be around, and just that positiveness of what we're trying to do. I think a lot on the outside's made of the actual style of play, and whether we're trying to whack it or what we're trying to do. But I think actually it's just a mindset change and a lot more positive one, and being open to scoring at faster rates, and I think you're free to try and hit the ball for six, but you're also free to block the ball. There's no definite way, and I think just that freedom has really done wonders for us, and hopefully it can keep going.
That's really interesting. I've thought a lot about, and I'm sure everyone has, the freedom of the way England play, but perhaps not quite so much on the psychological freedom, which seems to give you an emotional freedom as well.
I think that's more important than the other stuff, really. I think I never felt comfortable to be myself in the dressing room as a person, and I think that's nothing against the environment before, but it's just how I felt. And if I wasn't performing on the pitch, I felt like, I can't be myself as a person, whereas like Baz has really encouraged me and Stokesy to be myself and offer my whole self to the team, and actually then you get so much more back from the dressing room and the team that you're in. So I think that's been a big shift for me, and then obviously better cricket has come off the back of me feeling like I can be myself.
So what does that actually mean then? Who is the Jack Leach that they'll be able to see in the dressing room that maybe they couldn't see before?
Well, I think I don't take myself too seriously. I have a laugh. Humour's like quite important for me, and I'll always be making a joke out of myself, and that just relaxes me, I think. So whereas before I probably tried to be, I'm England spinner, I need to be really serious, this is a really serious job, which it obviously is, and I really want to do well, but the best chance I've got of doing well is obviously being myself. So it's kind of looking at it that way. And I think we talk about like results not mattering, like they don't matter. No one wants to win more than Ben Stokes. He's the most competitive guy ever, but we know that if we stick to the process of what we're trying to do, that we've had experience of winning more games than not. So when beforehand definitely thought about the result, worried about the result on day one, you're worrying about day 5, and it's like, well, then you're not in the moment doing your thing. So I think those kind of things are the more important things that probably we're taking from it, rather than we have to go at 6 and over today because everyone's going to love it.
Jonathan, I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm thinking, can laugh at himself, likes a joke, full of good stories. How many years has he got before TMS?
He'll be there, but we've seen this side of Jack for a long time, haven't we, Jack? We've also had some sociable times on tours and so on. But I think the whole question of Bazball is more psychological than physical, really. And I thought we saw a good example of that at Birmingham, where England actually bossed much of that game. I mean, I don't think Australia played like the World Test champions that they actually are. And all that England have to do is just refine it. And we talked about it quite a lot during that game, didn't we? But go out there, play positively, take the bowling by the scruff of the neck, cause some chaos. But once you've done that, just live in that chaos for a while. Don't throw those wickets away. Don't do something you don't have to do. And I look at a couple of those wickets that fell. They fell unnecessarily, and Australia were there, not for the taking necessarily, but they were certainly wandering around, wondering, how do we cope with this? What are we going to do? Look at Pat Cummins, the captain. These fields you're setting, they're actually very defensive. There's gaps here and there. We'll make the most of that. And don't feel that you do have to go out and score at 6 and over all the time. You've done it. You've created that situation in which the fielding side is really under pressure. So live in it for a while. And I just think that's a little refinement. I spoke to Ben today, and he is not someone, I don't think, who necessarily goes back and relives every moment of every game that he's just played. In fact, I think far from it. I think he probably puts it away and moves on to the next one. But that's what I just hope is the experience of Edgbaston. Because England should have won that game, and Malcolm will protest, but England should have won that game actually, and that they didn't will frustrate them. But there were reasons why they didn't, and they just need to put those right.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you that England, that game was there for the taking. The Australians, for most of that game, were just hanging on, and I was a bit concerned that looking at the way that England played, that Bazball's become a cult, that somehow you get into a position to win the game and then don't lock it away. I was staggered. I mean, I great admirer of Joe Root's batting, but I thought it was a crime, the fact that he had 100 for the taking there in the second innings, and the field was spread out all over the place, and he's tried to hit one to Worcester when all he had to do was sort of push it into the gap and get one or two, and he'd be 100 in 45 minutes, and then Australia are out of the game, and you can go hell for leather instead of having 6 blokes on the fence like Stokes did at the end of the game. So, yeah, I think that Bazball's been terrific for cricket and terrific for English cricket, but it's not going to win them the Ashes if they keep playing like that.
Just on that, I think one thing we experienced in Pakistan on a very flat wicket at Rawalpindi was declaring, and maybe a generous declaration at the time, what people thought the only reason we managed to get a result in that game was by doing that. So I think, and we felt pretty pleased that we did that. I think if we'd batted another session and scored another 150 runs, then Pakistan wouldn't have even gone for the result, and therefore we wouldn't have won. So I think those kind of experiences have made us maybe want to take that little bit of risk here and there. And we've always said, we know at times it's not going to come off, but we're comfortable with that, and we know that hopefully these kind of decisions will come off more than they don't come off. And the proof will be in the pudding. But I think if we didn't stay true to that, and Stokesy didn't stay true to that, he would be definitely beating himself up, and other people might be, as if we went into the Ashes and played it differently after winning whatever it was, 10 in 12 or so we were really I guess comfortable with that, and we'll see what happens.
Do you enjoy sort of being the bad guys a little bit? Because that's how it feels to me, is that ordinarily it's sort of, England are the team that sort of the good guys, and Australia have this approach, and, they kind of dictate things. But you could see it right from, I think I was looking at the field in about the third over, and Australia had 3 men out on the fence. England were dictating. England were the ones with that kind of swagger. Do you enjoy that?
I think any team would enjoy when you can see that you're on top of the opposition. That's good. And obviously, for it to be such a good team, I think we went to Australia not that long ago, lost 4-0, and they were the one doing all the playing, and it was an awful tour to be an England player. And some of my biggest lows were there. So I think we know what it's like to be on the other end of that. And so, I think the more times that you're on top in a game, more often than not, you're going to get a result. I think the thing, I've seen so many games in my career drawn because you've left it too late to make a call. And I think if Stokesy and Baz are there sitting there saying, we want everyone to take risks and be brave, and then they're not seen making those decisions, then how can you look up to that leadership? Whereas the great thing is everything they say, they act on. And I think that's why we have complete clarity as a group, and we have complete respect for the two guys in charge.
So one change from the defeat at Edgbaston, Josh Tongue coming in for Moeen Ali. That means England will have 4 seamers plus Ben Stokes, but he's been telling Jonathan that isn't a reflection of his own fitness levels.
No, I think it was, we had to come down here to Lords and just look at the wicket initially and go with what we thought the best option to win this game was, especially with our bowling attack. Lords traditionally isn't known for being the spinner's wicket. We went with the 4 seamers with, obviously it's quite, there's a little bit of grass on it and it's quite green at the moment. So, I just felt having, bringing Tungy in as our 4th bowling option, I just personally think that we will get more out of having that person as a seamer over a spinner this week.
Is that because he gives you that short pitch option as well?
Yeah, I think it's nice having, someone who can play different roles with the ball. Tungy, showed that he's able to do that. He's able to bowl your normal sort of hard length and top of off, but also shows that he can run in and bowl, longer spells when we're trying to be aggressive towards the batsman, bowling those short plans that we like to go to if we feel like we need to. Having someone like that up your sleeve who's, the sort of point of difference with his pace and his sort of awkward action is always nice knowing you've got that.
There's been quite a lot of talk afterwards, analysis in the media about the approach, which I guess isn't going to change, but whether or not, having got to that point of being very positive, whether that's a time perhaps just to play and make the most of the situation that you've created. I mean, is there going to be any sort of fine-tuning of this?
Look, I think the best way for me to, I've said it, like the arrogance to me would be me sitting here saying that everyone's got to agree with what we do and what I say and the decisions that I make, and I'm fully understanding that not everyone's going to agree with it, but what I have done and what we are able to do as a team is we've got something that every single person in that dressing room truly believes in. And we believe that we can go out onto any field on any day and produce match-defining sessions. And when you've got that, that's so powerful that everyone's walking out there with the same confidence in everybody else and what we do, and the confidence in how we play our cricket. If you even have one person sort of not sure about certain things, then that can sort of differ teams. But we've got a changing room of players, backroom staff, coaches, who truly believe that what we are doing is the best possible thing for the team that we are at the moment.
It is a group that has produced this team for the second test: Crawley, Duckett, Pope, Root, Brook, Stokes, Bairstow, Broad, Robinson, Tongue and Anderson. What an occasion, Jonathan, this is going to be for Josh Tongue.
It will. I met him the first time the other day, actually. He's a very personal fellow, isn't he, Jack? You know him very well. Yeah. He had a really good debut against Ireland. They wanted to play Mark Wood, let's be honest, they did. And he's about a week away from being fit, and he admitted that himself. He said they didn't think he could do a whole test match in the way that Ben Stokes wants them to. They do like the short-pitched attack, England. And I don't really like seeing Robinson and Broad have to do it because they're just not that sort of bowler. But that's what they've been reduced to doing. And we saw Tongue, who we bowled. He can bowl pretty rapidly, can't he? Do that against Ireland. They didn't like it very much. Of course, he got 5 wickets. So I think part of the strategy is they've picked Tongue ahead of Potts, say, or despite the grass that's being on it. And you might think, OK, Potts will nibble it about a bit. But it is because they do want to go to that short-pitched attack. Travis Head and these guys, they feel they're vulnerable to that, and so that's why they went for Tongue ahead of Potts, and it will be huge. But for the very brief moment I did meet him the other day, I think he'll probably be able to. He'll handle it, won't he, Jack?
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's a great lad, and he's fitted in really well. Yeah, I can't think of a better way than to get 5 for on debut at Lords. He's on the board already. He's come back this week and his name's on the board. So special for him. And I think all the lads will be behind him. And he offers that something different. Obviously, I think you always need something different, whether it's pace off as a spinner or pace on and something a little bit quicker. So, we've obviously gone for that. And it
does show though to me that Stokes isn't fit, because Stokes would do that role, wouldn't he? And they could have played. I don't know, because Stokes, he just never tells people how and you don't know whether he's going to bowl 30 overs in the test or none. He keeps it quiet, but if he gets going, he'll bowl probably a 50 over spell at some point.
That was a great forward defensive, that, by the way, Jack. That was the audio equivalent of your innings at Headingley. That was excellent. Absolutely outstanding.
I had forgotten about that.
I'll ask you about Nathan Lyon in a second, actually. Just Jonathan, you've been to Lords, had a look at the pitch and everything. What you said there about Anderson and Broad, it's a bizarre situation to have at Edgbaston where, you have those two bowlers with a pitch which isn't really set up for them to succeed. The word Jimmy Anderson used about it was kryptonite. So what will be different?
Well, looking at this pitch, I didn't go onto the pitch. I'll see it tomorrow morning. But there is, Jack's probably a closer look than I have, but it looks from a distance as if there's grass on it. Sometimes it can be misleading. You look at a long strip like that and it looks green. Is it grassy?
Yeah,
there's some good grass on it. Well, that seems to be a change of policy because they wanted these very flat pitches. And with Jack being out and Moeen being out as well and then going down the SEMA route, they've obviously asked the groundsman to keep some more grass on it, which will make it for a more interesting game, I think, than that flat strip at Edgbaston. There are a couple of things I'd like to know. I didn't dare ask Ben today, but I'll ask him another time. Has he sat down and talked to Jimmy Anderson? He had a poor game at Edgbaston. But more than that, when it really mattered, when the pressure was on, Stokes didn't go to him on that last afternoon, and that was a bit of a surprise. I think it's a big game for Anderson. This, he does bowl well at Lords. If there's some grass and so on, then he'll bowl well. But I just thought that was interesting that Stokes didn't go to his main man there. But it means if there is some grass on, the Robinson and Broad and Anderson can pitch that ball up. They can nip it about. They have got tongue to come in and bowl some short stuff if that's required. And we'll see how it goes. The main thing Australia will have, of course, is that their main two only scored 35 runs between them at Edgbaston, and that doesn't happen very often. But if the ball's just nipping about, Malcolm, I think they'll nick off again, won't they?
Anyone's a chance of nicking off. I wouldn't mind a 4-day test match, I have to say. The one thing I was disappointed with for Jimmy Anderson was, as Jack was talking about before, that you're building a team ethos, and the first thing he comes out and says is that if we get another pitch like this, I'm done. Well, hang on a minute. If you're part of the team and part of the team ethos, this is what you've got to bowl on. Turn up and do your job and shut up. Yeah. And if you're not feeling 100%, then tell him you're not feeling 100% and let someone else do the job. I don't care how old he is. If he's going to turn up and be part of this new ethos, he can't be talking about how he feels. He's got to be talking about what works for the team.
Careful, Malcolm. Don't be telling people to shut up. Journalists get very, very upset if you give them a send-off or anything like that. These Aussie journalists, very, very, very different. Although I note now that there's less moaning about Ollie Robinson, that you're all talking about Nathan Lyon and his 100th consecutive test. His captain Pat Cummins says he brings all sorts to his side.
Oh, it's numerous. I think, at the start of each summer, you hear other teams talk about how they're going to target Nath. Well, he's 100 tests in a row now, shows that he's found a way to manage that, and he's just a brilliant bowler in all conditions. He's reliable. He bowls kind of at least 30 overs a day, so as a captain he's an absolute dream, and you just know what you're going to get.
Coming into a Lord's test, what's special about coming to this place? It's unique, isn't it?
It is. It's a ground that you talk about all the time when you're a kid. Imagine we went over to London and you played at Lords or you visited Lords. So when you're actually here, it feels like Augusta would be to golf or Wimbledon is to tennis. Just feels that extra special walking through the long room, or even sitting down for a 3-course lunch. You're at the home of cricket.
And Bazball, do you rate it?
I don't really have a strong opinion on it, to be honest. It's a little bit different to how we go about it, which is great. I think it's exciting, but we're pretty strong in how we want to play.
Some say you were spooked by it in the last test. Is that true?
I wouldn't have thought so. I don't think there was too many surprises last week.
Just give us an idea, Jack, spinner to spinner, of how impressive that is, 100 consecutive tests.
That's unbelievable. Sat here with a back injury. I've got so much respect for Nathan Lyon, someone I look up to a lot. I watch a lot of other spin bowlers, and he would be right at the top of the list because, just a normal off spinner, if you like, but the energy that he gets on the ball and the way he uses his whole body to bowl the ball and the overspin that he gets, and obviously I've bowled out in Australia, as everyone knows, and I found it very difficult. So just so much respect for him as a bowler and also as a character. He's always up for the fight, and just really look up to him. And yes, I think playing 100 tests in a row is an amazing achievement, whatever you do in the game. So
it says a lot for the Australian system too, doesn't it? I mean, he's played, but they haven't played 4 seamers. He doesn't bat very well, and yet they've still stuck with that strategy of maintaining a spinner in the team, which doesn't always happen, as you'd know to your cost.
Yeah, but I think that's about also the spin bowling being good enough to be picked all the time, and he is definitely that. And obviously that's what I've been aiming to do. And it's kind of a circular thing, because the more you bowl in, like Stokesy is, to be fair, has been the reason why I've had better results, is because he's bowled me in every situation, because he knew that he wanted me to be able to do that. And he looked at Lyon and thought, well, he's played in a 3-man seam attack in himself, so he has to bowl in more situations, not just when it's spinning. And so actually he was like, I'm going to throw you in at the deep end, and I'm going to bowl you at times where you might not have bowled before, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but you're going to learn from it. And to have someone doing that for you, like, I feel very lucky, and it feels like it's progressed my game. But I've got an injury now, so but yeah, that's all going to be good for future games for sure.
You can tell though that they try and make everybody still feel involved. And I know you gave a little speech to the players, didn't you? You were on the pitch and there was a huddle on the pitch. So what did it mean to you to be asked to speak, and sort of how did you find the right words?
I just cracked a couple of jokes, to be honest, which
such as
seemed to go down well. Apparently Brookie's taken over my job of making a little speech. And I said, that's the only reason I was in the team, so I need to stop doing that. I said I felt like a competition winner for the last year or so playing in the team, but I definitely feel like one now, turning up to watch a couple of days of the test. So thank you for allowing me to come in. But it's just been great to see the boys, and to see the boys having a great time, and the energy in the group was really, really good the last couple of days, and just everyone's really excited for the game.
I think, just very quickly, I think that the important thing with both Jack and his success, and Nathan Lyon and his continuity, is having a bowling captain, because Pat Cummins would often bring Nathan Lyon on in the first hour just to see how things go. And Stokes has been doing the same with Jack, getting him involved in the game. So
the thing you want as a spinner is to come on and not worry about that first over for 60 overs, but actually bowl a few overs, feel like you're in the game, and then you're good to go. So I think that's right, and that's because seamers don't want to bowl, right, and they want to get the spin on instead.
That's right.
Very true.